Aileen Wuornos, one of the most infamous female criminals in American history, represents a life full of pain and psychological trauma. She killed at least 7 men between 1989 and 1990, creating a series of murders that shocked the public. The story begins in December 1989, when Aileen met Richard Mallory, a truck driver. After a conversation, she shot and killed him. This was the first murder in a series of killings that followed. Aileen's victims were all men, mostly truck drivers or those who stopped to help her on deserted roads. They were brutally shot, and Aileen took their personal belongings such as wallets and credit cards, leaving clues that police could follow. However, there was no clear connection between the victims beyond the fact that they were men Aileen encountered on the road. What stands out in Aileen's crimes is the brutality with which she acted. She not only killed her victims but also took their belongings, then discarded their bodies in remote areas. Initially, investigators could not determine Aileen's specific motive. Some theorized she acted for financial gain, while others believed she was seeking revenge for past suffering. Aileen had a traumatic past. Born into a broken family and sexually abused as a child, she grew up in an environment filled with violence and a lack of emotional support. She was abandoned at a young age and raised in orphanages, which deeply affected her mental state. Aileen once said she killed the men because they wanted to abuse her, which suggests that she may have acted in self-defense. Some psychologists argue that Aileen developed a skewed perception of men, seeing them as perpetrators of harm, and her murders were a way to cope with past trauma. Although Aileen's exact motive for killing remains unclear, analysts believe her behavior reflects severe psychological disorders. With a painful childhood, Aileen was not only a killer but also a victim of society and the men in her life. While her actions were criminal, they cannot be separated from the harsh conditions she endured. Throughout the investigation, Aileen became a controversial figure. Some saw her as a victim of circumstances, while others believed she was simply a cold-blooded killer with no clear reason for her actions. After being caught, Aileen confessed to her crimes and was sentenced to death in 2002. Her story is not just about the murders but also about a tragic tale of an unjust society, where the vulnerable are abandoned and hurt. Aileen Wuornos is a prime example of the complexity in criminal psychology. She was a killer, but also a victim of a cruel society where people like her had no protection or love. Her case is not only a story of crime but also a warning